The CAF system in EA's UFC games have really come a long way, but there are still a few things that they definitely need to address. And starting from what I think is probably the most important thing so far is these fighter archetypes. Right now in UFC 4, you're not actually allowed to pick your own stats. You have to pick between five different fighter archetypes. You've got kickboxer, you've got boxer, you've got balance, you've got wrestler, and you've got jiu-jitsu. And within these archetypes, for example, if you were to go with a kickboxer, you have a razor style kickboxer, you've got acrobat, and you've got sniper. And these different types of kickboxers, for example, will give you certain perks. It will give you a specific stand-up stat. It's going to give you specific grappling stats, and it's also going to give you very specific health stats as well. Same thing happens if you were to go with acrobat, if you were to go with razor. If you were to go with boxer, you've got powerhouse, you've got pressure, you've got showboat. Same thing with a balance, top dog, engine, versatile, and then all the rest of them. Now, what this seeks to do is it seeks to balance out the creative fighters, because EA intended to allow CAFs in ranked, and they didn't want to run into a situation where overpowered CAFs were fighting regular fighters in ranked. And so they wanted to figure out a way to make sure that every single player that shows up on ranked with a created fighter is using a creative fighter that is balanced and is not overpowered. So on one hand, I completely understand the issue they were running into, and I appreciate them trying to solve this problem, because of course people definitely want to play ranked with their CAFs. I mean, you can't just completely ban CAFs from rank and say you can't use CAFs in rank. So I get it. I really do get it. But I think the problem is that this is just too limited, man. It's just too limited because it also affects offline players. And anytime when design decisions being made specifically for ranked starts to affect offline players, then you have a game that its longevity is not as good as it needs to be. What I would like to see is a situation where they do away with these fighter archetypes, open up the CAF system, and allow players to pick their stats. If I want to create a kickboxer who also happens to be an incredible wrestler with very, very good submissions, allow me to be able to create that. If I want to create a fighter that is completely overpowered, I'm talking 100 stats, everything from head to toe, allow me to create that. Regardless of what I want to create, stat-wise, perks-wise, allow me to create that. Allow me to be able to use those fighters offline. Because, I mean, it is my game, and I would like to be able to create my fighter exactly how I want him to be created. This is also going to allow us to create certain fighters. There's certain fighters in this game right now that if you try to create them using these fighter archetypes, it's not going to give you an accurate representation of the fighter. Someone like Jon Jones, for example, is a very, very good striker, and he's also a very, very good wrestler, and also has really good submissions. It's going to be very difficult to recreate someone like Jon Jones using these fighter archetypes, because if you would try to create someone that's a kickboxer, for example, and you went with, say, Razor is more of like your Muay Thai style kickboxer. Yeah, it's going to give you some of his stand-up attributes, stand-up stats, but then when you take a look at his takedowns, it's not as high as it needs to be. His top game is not as high as it needs to be. Submission offense is not as high as it needs to be. And so you kind of run into these little tiny problems. And also, one more thing to mention is that these fighter archetypes also assigns moves to your fighters. It literally, like, for example, if you were to go with the Razor kickboxing archetype, it gives you a level 2 jab. Okay, what if I wanted to create a Muay Thai fighter with a very, very good jab? Then what happens? I'm not able to do that. You know what I mean? So not only are you given assigned specific perks, you're assigned specific stats, you also assign specific fighter moves, and the move levels are also assigned, which also gives you the animation, because a lot of these move levels are accompanied by very specific strike animations. So what if I wanted to create a Muay Thai fighter who throws his jab like a karate fighter? Then what? What if I wanted to create a fighter with a Muay Thai base who kicks like, I don't know, a karate fighter or something, or who throws his punches like a level 1 boxer? What if I wanted to create a wrestler who also has elite level boxing? He's got level 5 jabs, level 5 straights, level 5 hooks, level 5. What if I wanted to do that? Then I'm not able to do that. So we definitely need a situation where the stats are opened up and players are able to assign stats and moves and perks however they see fit offline. And so of course that leads to the question, like, okay, so what are you going to do then? Like, how are we going to allow players to take these overpowered characters online on ranked and ruin everybody's experience? And what I would say is I don't think there's anything wrong with that if they're taking these fighters on ranked or quick match. Quick match, of course, is not ranked. It's different from ranked, because in quick match you also get the option of not allowing calves. If you go to quick match, for example, and you try to play online, the game gives you an option to deselect calves. So if any player try to use calves online, you're not going to run into any calves. Essentially, they won't be able to use their calves online when they run into you. So that's one option. Second option is, I personally don't think it is a big deal to run into overpowered calves in quick match, because losing in quick match does not mean anything. Losing a fight in quick match means nothing. It's not ranked where you worry about your stats and you worry about your rankings and all that. Quick match is supposed to be for experimentation against other actual players. Quick match is where you go to have fun. It's where you go to experiment. It's where you go to try crazy shit. It's where you go to test out your overpowered, obnoxious, crazy calves. That's where you should go to do that in quick match. And then in ranked, if players want to use their calves in ranked, what I will say is do it similar to how UFC Undisputed 3 did it, where the only sort of calves that you're able to use online, I believe this is how they did it, but if not, this is my suggestion. If players want to use their calves in ranked, then make it so the only type of calf that you can use in ranked are calves that you've already either taken through career mode or calves that you are currently taking through career mode. That makes more sense, because the career mode is supposed to mimic an actual UFC career. If I create a fighter and I'm taking that fighter through career mode, that fighter should then become available to me to use on ranked. And that fighter, our calves in career mode, should have their actual stats, their record showing when I go on ranked. So if I go through career mode with my fighter and I complete career mode, whatever my record is during career mode, I'd like to see that record reflected when I take that fighter into ranked. And of course, as we all know, when you play career mode, it's really not possible. I don't think so. I've never had a situation where I took a calf through career mode and ended up with an overpowered calf. If that happens, then maybe you guys will have to design career mode in a way that it is impossible to end career mode with a calf that is overpowered. So if I take my calf through career mode, that is going to be a way to balance out the calf. And if I am still in the process of completing career mode, of course, my character is not going to have his stats all maxed out. He's going to have a lot of weaknesses, and I can just take that fighter as is into ranked and use him. That is a way that I think you guys can absolutely balance out calves in ranked. So for sure, I really would like, I'd like a situation where I'm able to assign my calves. Do away with these fighter archetypes. They're boring, in my opinion. The idea is, I understand it, but it truly is boring. I don't think if you were to give players the option to go with this or to go with a open system where they can assign stats however they want, I don't suspect that players will pick this one. I don't think so. So I think a vast majority of players will rather have it wide open. So go ahead and open it up. Second suggestion that I'd like to make in terms of calves, another very important one, is give us an option to share our calves. The creative fighter system is already quite limited. We'll get to that. But I would like a situation where if I were to create a calf, if I spend time creating a fighter and I get that fighter looking really good, I'd love to be able to upload that fighter and have other players literally search for the fighter. And when they search for that fighter's names, they will see examples, like a lot of examples of that same fighter that's been created by a bunch of different players. Then you can pick, and it could be rated. It could be rated. It could have like a rating system where you see players rate specific calves. You can see how many times a calf has been downloaded, and then you can just look and figure out which calf out of all the lists of calves that you've seen looks the most like the calf that you want. You can download it. So for example, if I wanted a created fighter of, I don't know, Conor McGregor, for example. Let's say Conor is not in the game or something. Or let's just use Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt's not in the game. I want Mark Hunt in the game. I go online, I search Mark Hunt, and then I see a bunch of different calves that players have already made, a bunch of different Mark Hunt's characters. And then I look, I see the first rated one. Maybe the very first rated one has the most downloads. I look at it. I like the way that looks. I like the stats. I like all that. I download the character. Then when I download the character, I can then take that character back into the Creative Fighter system, and I can either amend the fighter's face, maybe change up the hair, amend the stats, amend the attire, what the fighter is wearing. I could change the name, I could change the nickname, I could change the hometown, the age, the height, the weight, all of that stuff. But the template, I can just download it from other fighters, from other players who've already created it. And that's going to make it easier for us to be able to get fighters that we want. Because right now, if I want a creative fighter, I got to go look for a formula. I got to go online and type in Mark Hunt, EA Sports UFC calf formula, and then I have to try to follow it closely, and it's just tedious. It's just really tedious. I think it would be just easier if we had options to upload it and download them. I think the community will definitely appreciate it. Now, going into the fighter appearances, first things first, man, we need more names. We need more names. I've said this. This is something that we've asked for so many freaking times, man. And I don't know how many more times we got to ask for it. We need more names. When I go to first name right here, first of all, the first name, we need first names that the commentators will actually be able to say. I've said this before. Every single name that Bruce Buffer can say in the game, every single fighter name should be available to us to pick. Every single name that Bruce Buffer can say, make those names available to us. Same thing with the last name. Every single last name that is already in the game, every single last name that every single fighter in the game already has, we need those last names available. And then even add on to it, we need more names. We also need more nicknames. You know, a lot of these nicknames are the same exact nicknames that we've seen all the way from Fight Night Champion, bro. All the way from Fight Night Champion. They got to do better. They got to add more. You got to add more. You got to add actual fighter nicknames, you know? Like the fact that if I go to B, like I'm looking for Bones, and the fact that Bones is not a nickname is kind of crazy. You know, we need every single nickname of every single fighter that exists in the game to also be available to us to pick, so that I can create a fighter and have Bruce Buffer actually say my name in the game. You know what I mean? So, next up is with the fighter heights. Added on to the fighter heights, I'd like to see a system where you also give us fighter reach. If I want to create a 6'1" fighter with an 84-inch reach, I want to be able to do it. It exists in real life. You guys gave us that option in Fight Night Champion. It was really fun to do that. If I want to create a 6'4" fighter with a 84-inch reach, I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to amend my fighter's reach within reason, within what actually exists in real life. And it's not difficult to see. It really is not difficult to see. Someone like, what is his name? I'm trying to remember this fighter's name in the lightweight division. Kevin Lee, for example, has a ridiculous wingspan. Kevin Lee is 5'9" with a wingspan of, I believe, 76-inch reach. That is pretty ridiculous. I myself, my wingspan is pretty long. I'm 5'7" with a 72-inch reach. that is long, that's really long. I'd like to be able to recreate that. I want to be able to make myself and give myself really long arms, which I already have. And then for the fighter weight, I would also like a situation where when you pick a specific body type, let's say I go to appearance, for example, and I go to body. I'd like to be able to amend every single body. Now, all of these bodies right here are very, very specific. Now, if I pick this body right here, this is like a Nick Diaz body, right? And I want to make this body fatter, exactly as it is. I don't just want to go and pick the fattest body in here, because this is not what Nick Diaz is going to look if Nick Diaz was to gain a lot of weight. He would look different from, say, DC, for example. If I pick this specific body right here and I make the body fatter, I still want the torso to be long. I want the torso to be long and then just make everything else fatter. Same thing with the skin tone. Don't just give us a few presets of skin tones. We need an actual color wheel. A color wheel is a circle full of a vast majority of colors, so that I can pinpoint, get a specific type of color that I actually want. Don't just give me these presets. Human beings are way more colors than this. Way more colors, and this is not as dark as human beings go, and this is not as light as human beings go. Human beings go lighter than this, they go darker than this. There's also way more in between. Some people are way more purple than they are white. Some people are way more pink. Some people have way more green undertones. Some people have more yellow undertones. And this, if we had a color wheel, is going to allow us to get the skin of the fighter a lot more accurate than what we can get right now. Moving on to the hair, the fighter hair. We need more hairstyles, and not just more hairstyles. We need more natural hairstyles, because right now, when you take a look at a lot of the hairs in the game, they're just crazy. I mean, they're just way over the top. You got the mullet, this old guy thing going. It's like, you've got this right here. It's like, how many fighters do you see rocking hair like this? You know what I mean? We need more realistic, normal looking hair. Don't just go pick a bunch of Avatar style hairs because it's interesting and just load that into the game. It's like, I don't want to make a calf with hair like I'm not saying delete all these, but definitely leave these in the game, but give us also more natural hairstyles. Like, this is just outrageous. That is outrageous. A lot of these hairs are just way over the top, completely over the top. What I would like is more hairstyles like this one right there, like that, like this. With a fade like this, like my style of hairstyle. It's my style is really not in the game. Like, you look at this and it kind of looks like my hairstyle, but it's really not. Like, this is like a weird high fade, but if you take a look, mine's not like freaking lined up like that. I don't like lining my shit up like that. We need more variety, way more variety. Caucasian style hair, African American style hair, and also, if it's possible, only, I know it's possible because I've seen this happen in wrestling games. If I pick a specific hair, let's say I pick this hair, I'd like the ability to grow it out. Just this hair. So grow out the part that's visible. So just, if I wanted it higher at the top, give me the ability to lengthen it at the top. If I want it shorter at the top, give me the ability to make the hair a little bit shorter. This style right here, if I wanted to keep it this exact style, but just grow the top of it, I want to be able to do that. Like this hair right here, this will be absolutely incredible. This is closer to my hairstyle than this one right here. And this, if I could get this one right here, but lower it, make it a little bit shorter, that'll be perfect. But it's like, there's no in between. This is big fro with the color on top. If I don't, that's one more thing I want to add. You give us this hair with the color on top, I know the wrestling games gives you options to also add color on top of the hair or remove color. So with this, you could have, if I go to hair color, I can have primary color and secondary color. The primary color could be the black, secondary color could be the weird blonde on the top. If I want to change that blonde to red, allow me to do it. If I want to change that blonde to black to have everything, boom, match up so it's just straight up black, allow me to do it. If I want to make the whole entire hair blonde, allow me to do it. Allow me to pick and different, like the primary color will be different, secondary color different. Allow us to do that. Same thing with hair like this, with the ponytail. If I want to make this ponytail longer and wider, allow us to do that. The Mohawk style, just give us the ability to grow and also shorten the hairstyles. That'd be great. Next up is going to be the hair color. Just exactly like I said, like I pointed out in the skin tone. I'd like the ability to have a color wheel that allows us to pick a wide variety of hair, because this is just not enough. It's just nowhere near enough. Fighters can have a vast majority of hair colors, and we need more. When you go to body hair, same thing. We need a color wheel for body hair. And then for hairstyle, for the eyebrows, we need more. We need more eyebrow styles. And then we need the ability to add designs to it. If I want to add lines in my eyebrow, I want to be able to do it. Facial hair, we need more facial hair. And specifically with this is going to be a long ass video, but I think it's important that we cover all this. For facial hair, I'd like it if it was broken down into three parts actually. One, the mustache. We have a variety of different styles of mustache, and then next up, just the goatee. We have a wide variety of goatee styles, and then next is we have the full beard. So if I want like a specific variety of the beard, I'd want that, and then the sideburns. I'd like that to be separate too, so I can combine. If I want a fighter with just a mustache and sideburns, I want to be able to get that. If I want a fighter with a big goatee, with no mustache or no sideburn, I want to be able to get that. If I want a fighter with a full beard, like I keep it, like the Dagestani style, where I don't have a mustache whatsoever, but I have just this, I want to be able to create that. And then if I want it to be longer or shorter, I want to be able to create that. This is the closest that you can get to my beard, but then it doesn't connect. It doesn't connect all the way because I don't have an option to add sideburns. If I had an option to add specific, like a sideburn, like a big or small, that's going to give me the ability to create that Dagestani look. Or if I wanted to create the Wolverine look, for example, it would be nice if I could pick this right here, just this, but without the mustache. Like that'd be dope. You know what I mean? That'd be really dope. But you get the point. I'd like more options when it comes to the fighter beard. Now moving on to the head. This is the big one right here. I personally speaking, I do think we have enough templates. I really do think so. I would not be opposed to more templates, especially more that look good. A lot of these fighters are ugly as crap. They really are. Let's just be honest. Especially when you start looking at the female fighters, it's like, Jesus Christ. Is there a rule that says you can't add beautiful looking templates in there? A lot of those female faces are just butchered. They're just awful to look at. So I'd love more templates, more beautiful ones, more busted ones. And then when we go into the sculpt, right here, we got to get way more detailed. We got to get more detailed. And I don't feel like I need to specifically tell these creators exactly what they need to add to give us more of a fighter likeness, because these are artists. You already create these character models. You know how specific you've got to get. The fact that this is only the options we have to manipulate what the head, as in the whole head, looks like, that's not good enough. Protrusion, of course, shows like how far the head comes out. Okay, that's okay. But then you give us height, but you don't give us width. If I wanted my fighter to have a squished face, but like really, really wide. I don't want anything else to get to get bigger. Just the width. I just want the because I have like a box head. If I wanted to create that where the side of my heads are like wider and more squished, I'm not able to do that in the game. If I go with size, literally the fighter's face just gets big, which includes the features inside the face. So the eyes, the nose, the mouth, everything just gets bigger. And you end up with this big ass caveman face. Meanwhile, what I want is just to make everything around the eyes and the nose and the mouth bigger. I'm not able to do that. We got to be able to do that. So give us height. Height only adjusts the size of the skull, not the eyes, not the nose, not the mouth, not the ear, only the skull. The skull gets elongated. If we want width, the skull gets widened. And of course, protrusion, everything comes out. That'll be a very good way. And then within the head, I'd also like an option of forehead. If I want my fighter to have a big ass forehead, I'd like to be able to increase just the forehead, leave everything else exactly where it's at, increase the forehead. If I want to widen the forehead, make it longer, allow me to do that. When you go to brow, the shape of the eyebrow, if we go to height, this is good. We want to be able to increase the height of the eyebrow, but then even if you take it all the way to 100, it's like the height, it doesn't go high enough. And it mostly takes up like the front of the eyebrows, this side right here. It doesn't move the whole entire thing up. It just kind of gives you this like weird shape where the front of your eyebrows are like goes up, but then these sides stay down. Same thing with the width. I want the height to mean something. I want the height to, if I want to make the eyebrows high, actually take the eyebrows high. You know what I mean? And with the eyes, there are a bunch of other different things that I'd like. The fold of the eyes, I'd like that to do more. The width of the eyes, the height of the eyes, how small the eyes are, how big the eyeballs are. There's a lot of different things that you can do. Take a look at the wrestling games, for example. You go play the wrestling games, man, you can get very, very close to a fighter's likeness. You really can. And I'd like that option. I'd like more options, especially if we're not going to get Game Face. If it's possible that you guys can just avoid all this and give us Game Face, hey, look, there's EA Game Face. You can just upload your fighter, morph the fighter into the game, and then adjust it. Perfect. That'd be just perfect. Way easier. But it's looking like we're not going to get Game Face anytime soon. And with UFC 5 possibly coming out on a PlayStation 5 and a more powerful console, it would be atrocious if we ended up with this exact same CAF system with these limitations. It would be very, very disappointing because this is what we've had for a long time. We need more. We need to be able to get likeness of a vast majority of people, and to do that, you need to give us more options. You know exactly what options to do. If we try to pinpoint all of them, we'll be here forever. So take a look at it, look at what options we need, and you need to give that to us. Next up is, of course, going to be with the body. The one thing that I forgot to add is, while making the body fat, I also want the option of making the body more ripped. So for example, if I wanted to pick this body right here, but I want him to drop in fat percentage, if I want him to look like one of those anatomy books where you see all of the veins and all of the, like, if I want him to look like he's, 3% body fat, for example, I'd like to be able to, you could even call it that. You could call it body fat percentage. And the more you drop the body fat, the more you see the muscles and the veins and everything underneath for this specific body style. If I go to this body style, same thing. If I go to this one right here, who's like really, really fat, and I start to drop the fat percentage, keeping the proportions the same, the length of the arms and all that, I'd like to drop the body fat, build up the muscle, show the anatomy of the fighter underneath. You know, I think that'd be just amazing if we could get that. And then the tattoos in these games, I mean, I really think that the tattoos they're very good. If you could do more to make it even better than it is, that would be great. But I really don't have too much to complain about in terms of tattoos. Maybe you could give us more slots for tattoos, just so we can really, really go crazy and lose our minds. But honestly speaking, I think the tattoo system is all right. If this is the system that we had moving forward, I would not be too upset about it. I really wouldn't. But the last thing that I'm going to talk about is the clothing, the fighter attire. EA has been adding a lot of these fantasy stuff, animated shorts and all these different things. They're all appreciated. They're all well and good. I'm pretty sure we all have a lot of fun with them. But I would also I've talked about this before, I would like more realistic attires. Jujitsu gi. Allow me to have different colors of jujitsu gis. A black gi, a white gi, brown gi, blue jujitsu gi, purple. I want a proper jujitsu gi, a proper karate gi, a actual proper boxing gear with boxing gloves if you're going to do that. A full Muay Thai attire with the headgear and the wraps and the shorts. Don't just go for all fantasy stuff, all super cool and crazy fantasy stuff. You could do that as well, but also give us the more grounded, more realistic stuff to add to our fighters. I think that would be absolutely amazing. And then there are a bunch of other things that I would like them to add to create a fighter. If you guys take a look at UFC Undisputed 3, the way that the fighter stands, the way the fighter actually walks out of the cage, you can pick that. You can pick what the fighter is doing once the fighter enters the cage. You can pick what the fighter is doing once as Bruce Buffer is announcing the fighter's name. You can pick the fighter's celebration. You can pick what the fighter is doing while the referee or while Bruce Buffer is announcing who won the fight. There are a lot of different options, a lot of different things that you can pick for your fighter. If they can go that deep, that'd be absolutely amazing. But I'm not expecting them to go as deep as UFC Undisputed 3. Even it's absurd to say that. I'm not expecting them to go as deep as a game that was released years and years ago. But it is what it is. I'm hoping they can get close. I'm really hoping they can get close. But this is where I'm going to end it. This video has been ridiculously long, and if I keep talking, we're going to be here for an hour. For now, I'll leave it here. If there are any suggestions in terms of creative fighter that you guys have, that you feel, I know I missed a lot of them, so go right ahead and leave them in the comment section below. Add to your suggestions. If there are any ones that you disagree with, let me know as well. Speak your mind. Let your thoughts be known. And I will definitely see you guys later with a brand new one. As always, stay safe. Peace out, folks.